Spoke about a lot of things about a fetus not being a child, and it's like we all started from something, and that's where we started from. If my lady or my mother chose to terminate her pregnancy, I wouldn't be here.
Okay.
Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black V-neck on. So I just finished watching the episode of Grapevine that just aired this Thursday about abortions. And girl, this is one of the best conversations I have seen on this subject on one platform. Like, honestly, y'all did a really, really great job. So I wanted to offer my thoughts and how I feel. And some of the responses that I saw, you can tell that a lot of people had a lot of things to say. And that's like any episode on the Grapevine. But specifically this. Shout out to Uchechi, Aisha, George, Donovan, and even Jimmy, who added anti-fatness into the conversation that did not need to be there. And it just let us know that we have a lot to learn. So I appreciate Grapevine for putting out content like this for us, by us type of situation. I wanted to dive into how I felt about not only just the conversation on Grapevine, but just, when people say they're pro-choice, pro-life. I did enjoy how Uchechi did break down we need to stop calling this pro-choice and pro-life, because that's not what this is. I definitely appreciated that conversation, because that is like a tactic, that's like a PR tactic to try to make people feel guilty. It's like a guilt trip type of situation to make folks look at the issue or feel some type of way about the issue when that's not even the right word to use to define the issue. I will give you case in point how they talk about Obamacare, how the Republicans framed Obamacare for white folks who don't like Obama, are going to go against something that might be good for them. And it's just like how politics works. So I'm glad that conversation came into play. I'm gonna be very, very honest in this conversation. If you are not a person that is ready for deeper conversation, I suggest you click off, because I know that some people be easily triggered. And I'm not gonna say easily triggered. People are triggered by some type of conversations and some hard truths. And this is one of my hard truths, because y'all saw the beginning of the clip where I showed this young man said that if my mother would have terminated her pregnancy, I wouldn't be here. I'm looking confused, because this man does not even want to give his mother, who is already here present, the choice to make a decision what she wants to do with her body. And he isn't even here yet, and he doesn't even have consciousness. Like I did in my other video where I told you all that I don't feel like I'm born in the right era, I think this is one of the conversations where I feel like I'm just all the way far off from the conversation, because we have a really hard time dealing with our mortality. We have a difficult time accepting that we might not be here one day. One day we're going to be gone, and we don't know what's going to happen after that. We are unsure of what comes after death. And some folks believe, some religions and stuff believe that we're going somewhere, we're going this place, and we come back and whatever. And I feel like none of us know for sure. None of us know for sure. That's why a lot of these things are called faith, because we don't know if it's factual. We're going off of a hypothesis. I hope this is happening. And I see that happening in the abortion conversation, as to say that, this argument that if my mother would have terminated her pregnancy, I wouldn't be here. And I'm like, what's the bad thing in that? What is it? You wouldn't even be here to even have the thought process to be upset at you not being here. Nothing cannot exist. You can't have a thought process if you don't exist. And that's why I'm looking is he really thinking about this conversation, or is he just scared of him not being here? And I think that's what the fear is. That's what I see. And I did see some folks, I really was looking kind of crazy when Sis said that, racism is a numbers game. I feel like that is some kind of surface type of explanation of why the world is the way it is. But I did love how folks say, well, we outnumbered white folks at one time, and that still is not going to help us. And that goes into the conversation about black capitalism is not going to save us, and black wealth is not going to save us. You just had the pioneer who brought BET to be what BET is, Bob Johnson, say that he isn't agreeing with a lot of these progressive policies. And this is a black billionaire. A lot of these black billionaires have this type of thought process about a lot of things. And they won't say it publicly, but they believe that at the end of the day, because their job is to remain a billionaire and a millionaire. So sometimes you have to, and that's what capitalism is, like you basically are taking from other folks. So I'm not going to dive into that conversation. I'm going to say that in the middle episode as we work on that. But shout out to Grapevine for this. I like this conversation. Like I hated it like in 40 minutes, but there were so many points. I did notice one thing that did make me uncomfortable, and I almost did not want to finish it because I felt like that I was going to see George be chastised or whatever, just simply because he is a black, queer, loud individual. And some of these cis hetero men can't take that. You can see that. Like when George speaks, he's speaking off of his existence. Like he's speaking off of his personal experience. And George is not the only queer person on there. You also have Donovan. You also have my girl Latasha. You also have her. But besides Donovan, we've never had just a loud, queer male on this show like that, besides Donovan. And I think people are probably scared to come at Donovan as hard because Donovan is a producer on the show, so they're not going to disrespect him. And I've seen Donovan have to get some guy together back during the conversation. I can't remember what we was talking about, but I never will forget when Donovan had raised his voice, child. That was epic. But you see this energy of how they respond to George when he's talking about, hey, y'all are talking about some pro-life and y'all don't mind, y'all want kids to live and come, but you don't even understand kids like me. And I felt like that was the perfect way of saying how us queer folks feel, because you all are so pro-life. But let's look at what life means, because if you're talking about just life, like we're not even looking at this person's color, their ethnicity, their upbringing, their sexuality, their quote-unquote gender, any of that. We're just talking about life. Like that's the only thing that matters. But you are not even willing to have a conversation with your child if they come out and say they are trans or they don't feel like they were born in the right body. Like y'all are not even ready for that. Y'all sit up here and have all these conversations, all these reservations or whatever about queer folks, and y'all don't understand them. Y'all don't think it's right, but you want to bring a child who you don't know yet into this world. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. And I think if I was in that conversation and people would have came at me where, well, if you were believing that your mama would have terminated you, you wouldn't be here. And I'd be like, okay. And that's no shade towards my parents, but my parents did not have the money to raise me. And not only just that, they're black, and that they did not understand me as a queer teenager. I went through hell as a child trying to understand myself. I went through hell. So yes, folks, to myself, this ain't about LGBT. This is not about abortions. And LGBT folks go to the clinics and have abortions. That's why I do like the phrase person carrying uterus or uterus carrying person or something versus just saying a woman, because I think we're leaving trans folks out of the conversation too, and we have to be mindful of that. But this conversation was really, really, really great. But I think what the ultimate issue with some of these folks is that they can't grasp with them not being here, and that's not necessarily a bad thing that you are not here. I just sometimes I'm trying to understand. Maybe there's some type of thing that's inclined or put in our mind that we need to always be here. We need to be forever present and here. And I'm just like, it probably necessarily would not be a bad thing if we are not here. I also love how Sister with the Lock said, I cannot remember her name. She said that I'm not going to allow a system that had control of me being here control my uterus now. Sis had it. Y'all like had this was a really great panel. Besides just the folks who I don't agree with, I enjoyed them bringing themselves on the panel and discussing some points of view that folks probably ain't gonna be accepting of. Cause sis, I think her name was Flo, like she was saying some stuff and she had her quote unquote facts, and she was being like folks would respond back to her like, girl, that's not the truth. But I did enjoy my guy Wild Man Jones on Twitter when he told, hold up, I'm talking. It is something about that, like New York, New Jersey, or whatever. I don't know where he is from, but hold on, bro, I'm talking. I can't remember what he said, but that had me screaming. Like the energy that these up north folks have, like these It be just having me like screaming, like bro, I literally said, bro, I'm talking, like hold on. If that wasn't some bullshit, I was here for it. But this was a great conversation. Shout out to the Grapevine. If you have not watched this episode of the Grapevine, I highly, highly encourage you to watch it. Thank you for bringing more queer folks to these conversations and in these panel discussions, Ashley. It's a really great job. So shout out to Grapevine. Check them out. Y'all know I'm a fan of them. Check out the latest episode. They put out one every Thursday. And girl, that's just it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll talk to you later on tonight. Bye.